George W. Bush and his Republican cronies insist only they can keep America safe. They claim to be number one on homeland security. They claim to be number one on border security. Which I find ironic because 9/11, the worst ever terrorist attack on American soil, occurred during their watch. Bush's major response to 9/11, in addition to senseless war, illegal wiretaps, surveillance, torture, and blatant disregard for international law, Bush's other response to 9/11 was to create the Department of Homeland Security, whose mission it is to secure the border and protect the homeland from conventional and unconventional attack. The actual concept of homeland security is flawed. The very idea we can secure the border is a myth. We tried this before and failed miserably. Back in the 1980s, when I served as a sailor in the U.S. Coast Guard, we tried to secure our border on two fronts during the war on drugs and the war on Haitian refugees. Last time I checked, despite spending a couple $100 billion and 25 years fighting those twin wars, heroin, cocaine, crack, crank, marijuana, pills are all readily available on street corners and in schoolyards throughout America. And countless Haitians have crossed shark-infested waters in rickety sailboats to reach American shores and become part of the lettuce-picking workforce. My stint in the Coast Guard taught me it's impossible to guard the entire coast all at once. It's actually quite difficult to guard even just a tiny little chunk of it. The myth of homeland security is part of Bush's great distract-a-thon, to distract us from the fact that the United States is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians, to distract us from the fact that we're losing the war in Iraq, that we're losing the war in Afghanistan. And we're ignoring the real problems facing the residents of planet Earth, namely rapid climate change and the impending global drinking water shortage. But at least our border is safe. Bush and his posse have created the Homeland Security Industrial Complex, the cousin to the military industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about. In this case, the government and the Homeland Security industry work together to influence and control foreign and domestic economic and political policy under the guise of protecting America from another attack. All the while, rich corporations and individuals get richer from lucrative government no-bid contracts. Since getting out of the Coast Guard almost 2 decades ago, I've lived on 3 different main islands. 2 of them were pretty remote. I've lived on a couple different peninsulas, and for the last couple of years, I've been living on a border island and exploring the countless coves and secret beaches and hidden landings. 2 centuries ago, this place was the center of a massive fertilizer smuggling operation that helped a young America grow enough food for her people. Smugglers loved this place because of the nooks and crannies and all the crazy currents and tides and thick fog and heavy winds and the rain and the snow. And on a stormy night, a speedboat with decent GPS has literally a couple thousand places where they could put terrorists ashore. And that's just in my neighborhood. This is New East French Britain. And this is a burqa, the traditional dress of fundamentalist Muslim women. It's bulky enough to conceal either another smaller terrorist or a heck of a lot of explosives. We need to deal with the root causes of terrorism, namely the imperialistic nature of the American regime. We also need to deal with the obvious inequity of globalization in a world of huge corporations that are eager to abuse the common good. Otherwise, we'll always be a terrorist target because America has more than 88,000 miles of coastline. yet only a fraction of the U.S. Coast Guard's 39,000 sailors have anything to do with actually guarding the coast. Besides, if England's recent experience is any indicator, the United States should be more concerned about homegrown extremists rather than foreign invaders from away. Hello, America. I just rode in from New East French Britain, and my arms are not even tired. Hello, America. By tomorrow morning, after a 7-mile walk and a couple of bus rides, the terrorist could be in New York City. Or your hometown. Attention government officials watching this film. The purpose of this project is not to get you to fortify the liquid border between the United States and New East French Britain. The point is to point out the truth and futility of wasting mega billions on the myth of homeland security. Hey, if you can't stop a conceptual artist in a rowboat wearing a burqa, then you're not going to be able to stop a band of vicious terrorists intent on coming into America and doing some serious harm. Until the regime change, we're doomed to hear more lies like that we're winning the war and building a 600-mile-long fence between the U.S. and Mexico will stop illegal immigration. A 600-mile-long fence between the United States and Mexico? It's obvious that our government is being run by a bunch of morons. In this modern world, we need to rethink the concept of boundaries drawn hundreds of years ago by dead white men. They really don't have much value in this new global era. We need to shake away the fear that Bush has been trying to instill in us since 9/11. Ironic that FDR, a physical cripple, told us that we had nothing to fear but fear itself, and Bush, a mental cripple, told us we have to be scared, but not to be scared to shop. Normally, I'd advocate for impeachment, but in this case, I think it would be too expensive, divisive, and time-consuming. Let's just let Bush finish out the remainder of his term as a super lame duck, and let the history books record that his presidency was both a sham and a disaster. But first, Bush needs to be neutered by the Congress, otherwise we'll be subjected to more of his murderous distractathon. Instead of ending the wars or taking care of global climate change or the impending drinking water shortage, he'll insist that we have to protect the homeland against an invasion from outer space. And we'll spend trillions of dollars getting ready to battle the aliens when people start to dehydrate to death. People will die because there's not enough drinking water. I hate to be so full of doom and gloom, but these are dark times. I hope our path changes soon, before it's too late.